So, let's talk about the launch of the massive new online world, Where Winds Meet. Its first week, wow, it was a total perfect storm. You had this super hyped up game, but it was just crippled by technical chaos. Then you have the dev team scrambling to put out all the fires, and a whole player base caught right in the middle. It was a real trial by fire, and we're going to break it all down.
And this quote right here, this gets right to the absolute heart of the problem. Can you imagine waiting for a game for ages? You finally log in, and you're hit with lag so bad the game is literally unplayable. We're talking a delay of half a second on every single action. And believe me, this wasn't just one person complaining. This was the crisis of launch week.
You know, for these live service games, the ones that are always online and always being updated, launch day isn't the finish line. Oh no, it is just the start of a massive battle. And for the developers, a studio called Eastwind Pavilion, this was their big moment to prove they could actually handle the heat.
All right, so let's get into that first wave of issues. The second those servers went live, players were hit with a storm of problems that went way beyond just a little bit of lag.
Man, the scope of the problems was just staggering. It was a true death by 1,000 cuts. For PlayStation players, there was this bug that would kick you out every 5 minutes, saying you needed PS Plus even if you had it. Character customization? Broken. Even super basic controls like, switching your weapon with the D-pad, it just didn't work. What a messy and frustrating first impression.
So, faced with this absolute flood of angry feedback, the developers didn't just go dark. Nope, they got to work. It was like they were treating the game like a blacksmith's brand new sword. It was full of flaws that needed to be hammered out, and they had to do it fast.
It seems like their first priority was patching up the story and the whole presentation. And that makes sense, right? Nothing pulls you out of a game faster than missing voiceovers in a big scene, or subtitles that are all weirdly formatted, or your awesome new outfit just disappearing during a cutscene. They were pushing out fixes for this stuff almost every single day.
And at the same time, they were tackling core gameplay systems. The friend search function was busted, a really important weapon skill had the wrong stats, and they even had to temporarily shut off features like custom emotes just to try and make the game more stable. Every single one of these bullet points was a fire they had to put out like yesterday.
But here's the thing, all those bug fixes, they were kind of just background noise compared to the one single issue that threatened to sink the entire ship. That massive, game-breaking lag problem we saw in that first player quote.
Because look, you can live with a little UI glitch. You can tolerate a missing line of dialogue. But what you absolutely cannot do in a game that's all about multiplayer action is play with a ping of 300 to 500 milliseconds. It's just impossible. So what on earth was causing it? And here it is, the official diagnosis from the developers themselves. It wasn't just that the servers were overloaded. Nope. A critical error was sending players from Europe and the Middle East to servers on the other side of the planet. It's like trying to have a real-time conversation with someone on Mars. That's the kind of delay players were dealing with.
So, they laid out a super clear two-phase plan. First, an immediate emergency fix on November 21st to get all the multiplayer traffic routed to the right places. And then, a bigger, more comprehensive patch planned for December to tackle the lag that was somehow even affecting the single-player mode.
Okay, so fixing the game is one thing, but fixing the community's trust, that's a whole other challenge. With so many problems, the developers knew they had to do more than just ship out patches. They really needed to make a gesture of goodwill.
And that gesture came in the form of a simple little number, 50. Now, it might not look like much, but for the players of Where Winds Meet, this number became a very familiar sight in their in-game mailbox.
And the key thing here was the consistency. This wasn't a one-and-done apology. With pretty much every single announcement of fixes, and trust me, there were a lot of them, came an in-game mail with 50 Echo Jade, which is a premium currency. It was this small but constant message saying, hey, we know things are rough, we're sorry, please stick with us.
So, all of that brings us to today. After a week of just frantic patching and non-stop apologies, where does the game actually stand? Well, the battle is definitely not over, not by a long shot.
And this chart really sums up the whole situation perfectly. On one side, you have developers who are, you can't deny it, incredibly active. They're pushing daily fixes, being super clear about server issues, and handing out gifts. But on the other side, players are still reporting terrible ping in regions like Southeast Asia, that annoying PS Plus bug is still around, and there's just this general feeling of skepticism.
And really, that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Where Winds Meet had a launch that was, let's be honest, a total disaster.
but the developer's response was unbelievably fast and transparent. Is that enough? Can a team that works this hard to fix their broken game earn back the trust of players who just wanted it to work from day one? In the wild world of live service games, that's a battle that keeps on going long after the launch week fires are out.